Welcome to Talk Hard Radio, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marty Norman.
Do you still think we're a radio
Welcome
station?
to Talk... We're not a radio station. Welcome to Talk Hard
Partycast. Woo!
Welcome to Talk Hard, the place where we hardly talk.
Everybody sit.
Okay, since Marty can't speak today, this is going to be an interesting... Welcome back to the Talk Hard podcast, the number one podcast, soon to be in the world.
In the nation. Wait, world. We're going world domination.
Nation? What are you thinking
I am thinking at the macro level. Macro. My name is Marty Norman, by the way. This is Brian Gordon.
Brian Gordon and Brian Kendrick, our special guest, who you have heard about before. We've been talking about you, by the way.
Oh, well.
Often.
Nobody informed me of this.
Everybody say hello to Brian Kendrick live, man.
I hope you guys said good things. I don't know what part of my story. What'd you say about me?
Well, that's really, if you're gonna have to go back and watch the podcast.
This is weird. I don't want to say nothing twice. Now.
Welcome to the show, Brian. Man, what's been going on today?
Moving and shaking, trying to fit into this. I'm really just focusing on how I look.
I know you need to quit looking at this.
It's this. I'm gonna look at you guys. That'll make it better because I'll get locked on myself.
Literally, I tried to talk to you 3 times and I couldn't break your eye contact.
I know because once that magic starts happening, I can't look away.
I get it. I get it.
It happens in mirrors, in reflections in windows.
Yep.
He's walking by the store at the gas station, and it's the reflection in the window. He's like, "Oh, hey,
who's that sexy
hey.
beast?" Oh, that's just me again.
I hate to just whip it out there, but I'm going to tell you about a story of LSD and me and my reflection in a window in my room when I was a smaller boy, and I could see a reflection of myself within a reflection of myself, and each time it went backwards, it got more sinister, and I got locked in there for like 12 hours, and then my mom caught me. I mean, this is a really true story. She come in to get me. She come in to get me and told me I had an orthodontist appointment. And it all started because my friend said, when you try this, you want to make sure you're not with anybody. Your first trip needs to be alone. So I hit my parents' house. I waited till they went to bed. I took
Who told you that? Jim Morrison?
Justin. And I took a couple hits of white blotter and waited for them to go to bed, and I thought that he ripped me off because he wasn't the most trustworthy drug dealer. And I fell asleep and woke up tripping balls, managed to shut the light off in the living room and slowly crawled to my bedroom. And that was my whole night, was looking at my reflection in the mirror. So I blame this. I know I'm not the most attractive human being on the planet.
I think you're sexy.
Yeah, for real. Me too.
I feel so much better now.
Yeah.
I needed to hear that
That's
from
what
somebody.
brothers are for.
You know how long it's been since my wife said that to me? I love you guys. I love you guys.
Oh, shit.
True story. I can't make this shit up.
I've been there.
Thank you.
I've been there. No,
that Me Too is
They
powerful.
told me to do it around people that I trust, and so I had a bunch of friends, right? And these were friends I've been with forever. They got it for me. I was having a great trip at first. They put this fun, like, kaleidoscope style crap on the TV, and everything was fine until
It wasn't.
my buddy, who didn't really fight with his girlfriend much because he didn't stand up to her very much, but she was nagging at him, and he turned and went, "Chill, bitch." And it was like everybody in the room went, "Ooh," and it was that sound that was like, "Ooh," and like everything in the room melted. I looked at my buddy Robert. He turned into a skeleton. He's like, "What's wrong?" And he looked like I started losing my shit.
You're a good storyteller. I feel like I'm there.
I started losing my shit. I ran to the bathroom. I used to wear cat eye contacts, and we used to go to a rave a lot. I mean, this is like 19 years old when this is happening. So I ran into the bathroom, and they said, "Don't look at yourself in the mirror." And I looked at myself, and I still had the contacts in. I grew cat ears.
There you
whiskers,
go. See,
and
it's
I started
not
turning
just
into
me.
a cat, and I got lost there. I ended up peeing on the floor in front of the sink.
Yes.
Because I forgot what I was doing there.
Hold on. Did you take it out, or was you still in your pants?
No, I was in my pants, but I was peeing like down my leg and onto the floor. Like I peed must have 2 or 3 times. I got stuck.
That happened to me last week.
I hope we're not talking about LSD still.
No, not the LSD part.
It's funny though. It's funny. I'm peeing right now. So,
Yeah, see, I feel like that part of me was activated as a teenager inside the LSD.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm 5 years sober and it's still there.
You're psychologically stuck there forever. Yeah.
There's a lot of things I think and I wonder, is this the LSD?
Well, you got to think though, man. The '90s were a different time, and not a lot of people out here that's going to watch the show might not even alive.
Well, hold on, let's
90s.
not prejudge. We might.
You might be, and if
true.
you are, you.
My
if you
grandma
guys-
might listen to this. Okay, so
Well,
hold
just
on.
the '90s were a totally different time. It was full of weed and LSD and some alcohol and parties and people hanging out and having a good time and
relatively safe drugs, like
at the time.
relatively.
Compared to
Well, it was-
today.
Yeah,
well,
that's what I mean. Like
completely compared to
theory.
today, and also it was a time before like actual addiction set in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was the fun times. It was the glorious
For
times.
us.
For us.
Oh, yeah.
And until it wasn't, right? But LSD, man, holy man, in the '90s, that's all we did.
oh yeah,
That's all we did, and I think it was a thing because you guys are talking about staring into the mirror. I think it was a thing because I definitely
no,
did
it
too.
still is a thing. I still do
definitely
it today. Cold sober, like I just want to make. I'm like, I wonder if she sees what I see because every time I walk by
It's called
naked,
body dysmorphia.
she doesn't look at me the same way, and I'm like, I like this.
So your wife catches you off an asshole.
Oh yeah,
standing
like
in the
oh yeah,
naked.
everybody does.
Asshole naked,
I get
just
called
like-
out about it all the time. They're like, Brian, if there were no mirrors in this gym, would you still come here? Absolutely not.
I mean, this is a
crazy.
true story, you know, and we could get into this if you want. I know everybody talks about gratitude, but one of the ways that I stay grateful is only time that I really pop out my teeth is in the bathroom. And I look at
Oh,
myself.
I thought you meant like pop out your teeth, and I was like, you too, because I have dentures,
Yeah,
so
me
I
too.
actually
I
get
have-
okay,
I have
sweet,
dentures
okay.
too. Hello.
Yeah, but
don't use drugs, ladies. and
No, I literally have like
or you will have dentures.
I still don't have bottom teeth. Because
I don't
they
have
broke.
any teeth.
Yeah,
None-
no,
none of
my
them.
tops are dentures. My bottoms just don't exist
Yeah.
because.
But I don't
they
ever
grow
take
weird.
them out unless it's in the bathroom.
Okay.
And that's how, like, it's part of my morning routine, and it helps me stay grateful. You know, they could
Definitely
remember
works.
how bad
Oh,
it
yeah.
got.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I made it. I
100%.
made
I
it.
have pictures of you.
I made it.
And me.
I made a TikTok video, and the whole gist of it was people look at me and say, "Was you really addicted to heroin for almost 15 years?" And I just look at them and smile, and I got my teeth in. It got a lot of views.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now
This
when you
pops and babies out.
when you first got them, were you like totally self conscious?
Oh, the story about this is madness. So I had 14 teeth pulled at once.
I was with it.
And-
I had all of mine pulled at once.
And they, the temporary dentures they put in, horrible underbite.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It
okay,
was
yeah.
embarrassing,
Yep.
and they wouldn't replace it. So I had to go through that awkward, 3-4 months with a horribly jacked up smile, and it made it. You know, just getting dentures alone and having your teeth pulled is a humbling experience.
Oh, yeah.
Going through the pain.
Yep.
Oh, to top it off, I did it right before Thanksgiving,
Okay.
so you know there wasn't really much to enjoy at the
Mashed potatoes are good.
that was it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, horrible
Yeah.
pain, and after the pain went away, I had to deal with the embarrassment of the dentures that don't fit.
Well, let's look at that too, because I that's one thing. I got a bottom denture, right?
Okay.
And I want to fix my tops.
We're renaming the podcast.
We are losing our audience.
Well, okay, this is the direct
Sponsored
result.
by Polydent.
This is the direct result of drug addiction.
Oh, yeah.
Man. You know what I mean, and getting a little older. But like, I want to fix my top. But man, have you not seen people? And Brian, when he first had his in, like, it changes the whole structure of your face.
Yeah.
It changes the way you look. It changes the
It
way
makes
you
it
smile.
thicker because your gums aren't gums.
And next thing
anymore.
you
It's
know,
got
and
added-
plus the
yeah.
white all of
Oh,
a sudden, and
yeah.
you look like the dude off Friends when he put the whitening on for too long and you
Yeah,
slept in
yeah.
him.
Oh, I love
You
it.
know, and the black light. You remember that show? You know,
Yeah.
so
I fucking
It
loved
was
it.
a good, you know, I think I wore them temporary ones for like 9 months, but the end result, that's better than any smile I
make
ever
sure you
had.
zoom in real close, real quick on that, like back and forth.
Yeah, mine are still the like actual. I have to glue them in and the whole nine. Like I
Yeah.
still do mine every day. I haven't gotten the bolts yet. That's happening this year, but
about doing
I
that,
remember when I first got them. Like I was sure that everybody knew I had dentures.
Yep.
Like when I tell people, they're like, I had no clue.
Yeah.
Like what? And I show them. Like I still don't have bottom teeth. And they're like, I would have never known.
Yeah.
Right.
My,
But in my head, everybody in the world knew, and I
Not
was
only do
so
they know, they're looking at me
conscious about it.
funny.
Yeah.
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 Like I got one that's like it's like right in the middle because my dentures were set off because I was in a hurry, And so my have one tooth that's like right square in the middle, and everybody just calls me like the Tom Cruise of smiling because it's just a little crooked.
My wife, I think
Nobody's really ever called you Tom Cruise.
No, I'm serious. My buddy James, Jimmy, said you remind me of Tom Cruise because it also makes my lip actually sits crooked because it gets caught on the way they built the denture, so it is just a little crooked.
Yeah,
I used to swear that everybody knew. My
little crooked smiles from a stroke from drug use.
You know, if I didn't do what I do, because I work in clinical treatment and my message is always we do recover. Yeah. My poor wife, though, you know, I made that video and it got thousands and thousands of views, and she's just like, you have no shame. I do it. I do it if my glue's a little loose at Evolve, I'll pop them out during group.
Oh, I do it all the time. I like spin them in my mouth, and people are like, "What are you doing?" I'm playing with my dentures. What do you mean? What am I doing?
Because I'm telling my story,
no,
right?
What are you doing?
What leads up to it is I'll be like, you guys may not believe it. I don't tell you anything that I've accomplished to brag. I tell you that 5 years ago I was flying a sign trying to buy a nickel bag of heroin. Yep. 5 years ago,
let's talk about that. I mean, I think we should get into that. We've talked enough about dentures. People probably not interested in dentures and our fake teeth.
Really? Because I could go all day.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, though, Brian, because 5 years, you've been clean sober, what, 5 years?
Over 5. October was 5 years.
October was 5 years, and I remember it. I'm just asking for the people. But tell us about that. Tell us what life was like before recovery.
Before recovery. Well, I'll try to give you the cliff notes because I don't think we have, but what, 40? How long is this show?
However long it takes.
So my bottom absolutely was absolute incomprehensible demoralization. Homicidal, suicidal, and I ended up in the west side of Chicago. I made a conscious decision to sleep on a cardboard box. This is why. We had a little roach-infested apartment, but if you know anything about heroin addicts, we would buy a lot. Sometimes we would hustle up $100 and we would get some, and the intention would be to wake up and have some so we wouldn't be sick. Yep. That never happened. Yep. Ever. Yep. I don't think it happened one time. It was a 30-minute L train ride to get to the dope spot or to get
from your apartment.
Yep, from my apartment. And that's horrible, sitting on a cramped L train, waiting on a train if you're vomiting and horribly sick like I was.
Yep.
So me and the hostage that I had, when I say hostage, I mean the girl I was running with, decided that we was going to get a couple sleeping bags and sleep on a cardboard box downtown, which is where we begged for money, hustled money, and then it was just a short ride to cop the dope. Middle of winter, and in Chicago, Illinois, if you haven't been there recently, on every corner there's somebody flying a sign. I would say 70% of the homeless population in Chicago, Illinois is heroin addicts. This is my experience from what I've seen. It's everywhere. It's at an epidemic proportion.
Yep. And
there's a kind of a thing that goes on with homeless heroin addicts. You can notice when somebody that is homeless is high on heroin. They're nodding out, they're asleep, and people will walk up to you and be like, Daryl, your name's not Daryl. They don't care. You know,
everybody's name's Daryl.
Just, whatever name you can think of. If you don't wake up, they go through your pockets. They take your dope because there's a likelihood that you got some dope. Yep. Well, I was hip to this. I knew they did that. So my way to get through it was I would take my cell phone, my dope, and my wallet, and I would put it in my shoe, and I would sleep on my shoe on that cardboard box. Well, I woke up one day. I had no shoes. I had no cell phone. So I'm in a lot of trouble because at that point in my addiction, the only places I had to shoot up was my neck or my groin, and I needed to get into a public bathroom in order to do that.
Very, very dangerous spot, especially your groin.
Yeah. Yep. Very so dangerous. I got no shoes. You're technically not even supposed to ride the L train with no shoes. So I walked to a Dunkin' Donuts. I knew the people that worked there. I think they sold some pot out of it. They were right down the road. Sometimes they would give us the leftover donuts when they would close at night. I went there and I asked if I could use their phone. I called my mother like I had 10,000 times before, and I don't remember the conversation was something like, Mom, I'm going to die out here. You know, there's snow on the ground.
Which I'm just guessing that she's had that call so many times.
She has. It wasn't this specific story.
Right, but was it the same, because I had been down that road, and we can go into that some other time, but it was like, when my breaking point happened, my mom was like, you want to kill yourself, kill yourself.
Yep.
That was where she had finally gotten to because I'd wrecked my dad's van. I'd gone through his crazy shit, and she just did not answer the phone.
Yep. And that's where it goes. She picked it up. I started to give her my story. She said, I'm sorry, baby, and hung up the phone. Yep. Now, you can imagine. I was
Gives me the chills. I get still.
35 years old, and I'm enraged. I'm cussing her. I'm cussing God, I don't know. This is just, to me, this could never happen. Now, my mom would never do that to me. And it just, to be honest with you, I've been to prison. I've been homeless 3 other times in my life. But in that moment, I went from somebody that was hanging out with them people like a vortex. All of a sudden, I am one of these people. Right. I'm going to die out here in the cold, a John Doe. Nobody's even going to know. Because until that moment, I lived in California. I lived in Florida. I lived in Montana. Whenever I got too bad, I was only a phone call away from coming home, getting a shower, hooking up with the people I grew up with, getting back on my feet. So I was just doing what I had to do until my mom stopped answering her phone. And I didn't get clean right in that moment. But in that moment, I realized my greatest fear, and it still is to this day, to absolutely be alone. Mm-hmm. In that moment, and technically I was hanging out with all strangers. I didn't care if I lived or died. I was hanging out with the heroin and the homeless population. I didn't know anybody. I was 2 hours away from home, but it didn't click psychologically until my mom wouldn't answer my phone calls. Yep. And that enabled me to hit my bottom. I'm like, I'm going to die, and my daughter's going to grow up hearing about her homeless, junkie dad.
Yep.
Yeah. So, legacy.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that your mom got a hold of a program is why this happened. Somebody told her.
Al-Anon, absolutely, yep. And she'll tell you.
Somebody finally said to your mother in a harsh way, like, you're helping your son die.
Yep.
You are enabling his death when you give him $5, when you buy him a cell phone, a pizza.
Yeah, you're
helping him die.
I want to jump into that real quick because if you're listening to this and you know someone that's struggling, I want you to know the truth. You can't do a thing. Period. Don't go beat yourself up. No, don't go down that road of I wish I could have. You can't do a thing for us.
This is great. I feel like we're really talking hard.
Like the bottom line is you can't. So stop beating yourself up. Well, the best thing you can do is cut them off. Like I'm not going to watch you die.
Not only not watch you, I'm not going to help you die anymore. And that's one thing I have conversations with. First and foremost, guys, if you are a loved one or anybody who's struggling, like this is one of the points of the show is to talk hard and talk about things that we can't say in our normal everyday life. But also, like myself and Brian Kendrick, we are co-founders. We work for Impact Wellness, which is a treatment center who has 3 treatment centers underneath it. We have Evolve Indy Center for Recovery, Robert Alexander Center in Louisville, and Finley Recovery in Finley, Ohio. So we have resources for every person who is struggling with drugs or alcohol. All you got to do is message us, call us. Chris put my number down below so they can call us. But
nobody said hi to Chris. They don't even know.
Oh, guys, say hi to Chris Cobb. Who's on the? I don't know which one.
Say hi, Chris. I
love
love
my
that
strong hand.
The point to all of that is it's simple. Like I have these conversations with mothers and wives and husbands and fathers every day, all day, and they're always like, I'm like, okay, so first off, your son, your daughter, your husband's using. Like, where's he live? What's he do? How does he get his dope? How does he? And they're like, well, I got the, I'm like, okay, who pays his cell phone?
I'm only feeding him. Is that okay?
Yeah, I want to, I can't turn him out in the streets. I got to give him food. Oh, yeah. He needs a place to shower. And I'm like, okay, so all these things, and I'm going to say this is going to hurt you, but you're helping him die.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's a simple fact of all of it. If a drug addict or an alcoholic is actively using and you're helping in any way, and they're not willing to get the help, you are helping them die. Period. In the story.
Because it wasn't until my mom wouldn't answer the phone. Now, my mom has been there for me. Like, when I say my mom has been there for me, when I was like 11 years old, I wrecked my bike really bad. My dad had the car. My mom ran barefooted 1.5 miles down the road and beat the ambulance. Okay? That's my mom.
Yep.
Always been there.
Yep.
When I called and she didn't pick up, and I tried to call my dad and find out what was going on, and I could hear her in the background, like, no, if he wants to kill himself, I'm done. I was like, who? I was mad at first. My first reaction is, well, you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because I'm still in the addiction, I'm going to play victim.
Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah, like, what are you talking about? Like, I did something wrong. I almost died, Mom. Don't you get it? Like,
not even playing it. Like, you believed you was.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I legit was mad. It wasn't like an act. I was like, how dare you? I almost died.
Yep.
She's like, yeah, I know. And I know why. You know what I mean? And then a week later, my dad fired me from a business that I helped build into like a multi-million-dollar business. And I went, who am I?
Yeah.
Like, what have I done? Like, hold on. Like, my rock bottom was not sleeping, on a cardboard box. I was still being fed. I still had a successful business in theory, even though all the money I made was going to dope. It was that my parents, my family, it was like, my dad was like, you got to figure it out, dude. Sorry.
It's a one-liner that that absolutely blew my mind because it's true. Anything that we do that prevents a drug addict or alcoholic from hitting their bottom is enabling.
Yep.
Cushioning that bottom. And I don't care, like bailing somebody out of jail.
Yep.
Getting him a place to sleep, giving him a shower, buying him a pizza, whatever it is.
It's to go to treatment.
Yeah, and that's the only thing. My conversation with the mom is if he doesn't, like, it's it. You're going to treatment, or I'm done.
I'll give you one ride to treatment.
You going to treatment,
then you're on your own,
or I'm done.
Yep. That's
it. That's all you got to say. And if it's well, I just need a pizza. Well, you got two options. One, really, you're going to treatment. And here, let's call Marty. Let's call Brian. We'll get you set
Hopefully they got pizza at the treatment center.
They do. I guarantee it.
Here's the thing is, here I've been diving crazy into this whole, like, science behind things, right? Like, I'm digging deep into the mind right now and trying to understand, like, how everything really fires and rewires and how all this stuff works in an effort to help myself and help others. And there's a thing that they talk about, activation energy. And what it is, it's the amount of energy that is required. Chemistry uses this. It's the amount of energy that is required to start a chemical reaction. But it's also used in psychology as it's the hardest thing to do is just to get the ball rolling. Like, imagine when you first push a car and it is dead stopped. That first burst of energy feels like you are going to get a hernia.
Right.
Once you get the car rolling, you can push it for miles, really, as long as there's nothing fighting the force. But if someone hits the brakes, you're not going to make it 10 feet before you're out of energy.
Inertia.
So that activation energy is the hardest part. And I remember having these conversations with my mom. She, once I finally got clean and my life was turning around and I switched that addiction mode in my mind to, instead of being addicted to drugs, I'm going to get addicted to myself. And I'm going to find what I need to fuel this fire inside of me. Because I always had it. I just completely lost in, drugs. Let's just be honest. My doctor once said to me, how can you expect to ever, because I always wanted to be a bodybuilder, and he was like, if everything in here is messed up, how do you think anything down here is going to respond to it?
Yeah.
So while you're taking all this crap, your body's never going to respond because it has no idea how. So you're going to the gym and literally doing nothing for yourself until you get all that crap out of your head, all the chemicals, all the substances. Like, you have to get clean. But I broke my arm. Doctor said I was going to be taking the pills the rest of my life, and I was scared. Scared that I was legitimately feeling like as soon as I got sober, my arm was going to be on fire. Now I lift plenty of weight. I don't even think about it. Half the time I forget I broke my arm. But I had the conversation with my mom, and she was like, what could I have done? Nothing. It still chokes me up every time because I just like, nothing, Mom. Nothing. You couldn't. You did. Like, you tried. What you did was cut me off. And I finally realized, what have I done? Because the strongest thing to do for an addict is when a loved one is finally done loving you because you don't want to love yourself. That'll hit home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the hardest thing to do. Like, I get it because I catch myself in it when people reach out to me and they're like, hey, and I got to play that game where I'm like, dude, you got to get help. I can tell you what I did and then that's it. Go do it, or I wish you the best.
The thing about, like,
sorry,
when a loved one cuts you off, it was like Brian said, I'm sure it's true for you too. It's you don't get clean that minute.
No.
Like, you got to test that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You're going to test it. You're going to find out, okay, you say that now, but tomorrow I'm going to call you and I'm going to tell you how hungry I am and you're going to help me. Or tomorrow I'm going to call you the next day and say, I'm cold, you got to help me. And you're going to help me.
You're going to stay out there a little bit longer just out of anger and resentment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That fuels you for a long time.
Yep.
But when a loved one, mom, dad, whatever, finally says, I'm done, and they stick to that, it usually isn't long before that addict realizes, like, holy shit, they're serious. I'm going to try for one more time. I'm going to try one more time tomorrow. I'm going to call her crying. And if she says, I'll come on home, I'm good.
Well, it's because, like you said, you finally realize you're actually alone. Like, the first time I tried to get sober, I found out who my friends actually were.
Yep.
Because when I wanted to hang out with people, once I had finally, like, gotten over that hump, all of a sudden nobody wanted to hang out anymore.
Well, I can tell
all
you,
my friends were gone.
I promise,
right? Because I didn't have anything to offer. I didn't have any dope for them anymore.
I promise you one thing: I never had any friends while in addiction. I never had any friends. Yeah. I mean, honest to God, looking back, you can't tell an addict that.
Well, it depends on your definition of a friend, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, we're so broken that we think these toxic relationships.
Well, the abnormal becomes normal.
Yeah,
so
we think
that's normal. That's a friend.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Birds of a feather.
Yep.
Yep. I don't love myself. You don't love yourself. We're both seeking the same means to escape it. So we team up because two heads are better than one.
Absolutely.
I mean, and for at least the last 10 years, maybe my entire life, that was who I surrounded myself with. Whoever was doing whatever I was doing at the time.
Which is throw your middle finger in the air.
Yeah.
Say F the world.
Yep.
And then come join us.
Yep.
And we can do it together.
Whether we was seeking booze, seeking meth, seeking heroin, I was in that circle. We would team up, ways and means to get more. Two heads are better than one, and we would accomplish that mission. And, to the best of my ability, I would have told you I would have died for them people. I believed that I loved them, but, it takes some self-improvement, self-development, some self-awareness to be able to realize that until you learn to love yourself, you cannot love anything else.
Anything.
Now,
not even your kids.
If you'd have looked me in the eye and told me when I got here that I didn't love my mom or my daughter, I would have probably swung on you, right?
Yep.
But now I know in reflection and in hindsight, it's absolutely true, because every time I reached out my hand to somebody, I was seeking, even when I was reaching my hand out to God.
Oh, yeah.
Seeking, because I was broken and empty. When I was being nice to my daughter, it's because I was guilt. I wanted her to like me. I needed her love, and that's not proper parenting.
Right.
Let her get up, stay up till midnight, eat sugar whenever she wants, do whatever, because I knew that I wasn't a good dad. But her saying, "You're the best dad in the world," made me feel better, just like the drugs did.
Yep. It was this outside thing controlling your inside environment, which is super dangerous in theory, right?
Yeah.
Like, if that's all we're ever looking for, eventually the world's going to let us down.
Yeah.
Because if that's all you're ever looking for, it's not all good out there. And if you get so sucked into what's happening out there, then everything starts to control it. And then when the bad happens, it has a totally different impact.
That's the story of my entire life. I didn't realize it, but it wasn't that I wanted you to like me. I needed you to like me. And I hung out in so many, like I skipped state. I went to different states. I went to prison. Everywhere I went, I become somebody else, whoever I thought y'all wanted me to be. Because if I can get you to love me for a minute, then maybe I would love myself. And I did that in every relationship I got in with a woman, every different environment, different circle I was running in. I was losing my authentic self. By the time I got here, I had no clue who Brian Kendrick was.
Oh, yeah.
You got to see it. You guys ought to have been around for that stage, that year when Brian was finding himself. I'm talking like, everything from sleeping out in the garden to meditating in the garden where people were driving by. I mean, just everything.
I grew an entire garden just on meditation.
He grew a garden. He grew a beard.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good, man. And that's kind of what everybody should be going through in early recovery. It's like, who am I?
It's exciting, right? Because you stop growing the minute you start using, and most people's magical age is 12. I don't know where that. I mean, I have a good idea of where it comes from. But yeah, it's mental, like that's when the frontal cortex is finally starting to get to a point where you're starting to understand thought a little bit more, and it gets real chaotic because now this is fighting. Like your subconscious is fighting your conscious at this point, and it gets real confusing, right? Yeah. You've had what you've been told to believe, and then what you're now seeing and thinking on your own, and it's not making any sense. It gets real scary.
Yeah.
So I understand
it. It's a tough time.
It's definitely a tough time as an adolescent. In male, female circles, whatever you guys are identifying as now, I'm still going to stick to male and female, but
awkward pause.
Yeah, I'm still going to stick to the male and female side of things, but the reality of it is it's a scary time, right? And so you stop growing the minute you start alternating your mind with some sort of substance, right? You're numbing it. You're doing all these things. Mine was weed, and I remember like being scared, thinking I had AIDS because me and a bunch of the kids in the neighborhood were doing weird stuff, and I thought I was gay, and I thought all these things like I had all these crazy thoughts, and then I got high, and everything just shut up.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I was like, holy shit.
When you have
this is the cure. I'm 12 years old. I figured the world out. Well, right? And I was high when that happened too.
I think that's the thing too, is like I think parents are having the wrong conversation, if they're having conversation at all with their kids about
they're not. YouTube and TikTok are having the conversation.
100%.
And you know what? If that's the way it is, and put your damn kids on here and we'll tell it what it's really all about.
Yeah,
like, I'm fine with that.
I mean, the truth is we're having wrong conversations, or they're learning it from TV or YouTube or whatever else. And the conversations, if they're talking about drugs, is one, glorifying drugs and alcohol, or two, drugs are bad, don't use drugs. It's going to be horrible. This and this and this, right? It's just like, and then the minute you're 13 and you do a little bump of cocaine and you realize everything they said was a lie because you're like, holy shit, this is awesome, right? Or I smoked my first joint and you're like, this is great. Everybody's been lying to me.
Right.
Well, you got to think.
I think the conversation needs to be, though, is like, hey.
When you do drugs, it's
when
going
you
to be amazing.
Yeah, you're going to love it.
And this is where you're going to go.
Exactly.
As
this
a side
is
effect.
This is the consequence,
right.
and this is what could happen, and this
right.
is what most likely will happen. Yes, but have the honest conversation, man, you know?
I have a lot of kids. Let's not shit all over it. Not everybody does drugs, okay?
That's true. That's true.
No, you're right.
No,
you're right.
There are, but here's what I think plays into it.
And first and foremost, before you go any further, guys, you don't have to do drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
please don't.
The odds are stacked against the effort
But if we're
because of especially society and the access to it nowadays. Like
Absolutely.
the odds are definitely stacked against your children. So if you allow them the space, and when I say when you do, it's like I don't want you to. I don't support it.
Well, it's also,
but if and when you make that
about,
decision, we need to be honest with each other so that this conversation can exist as you go down this road.
And I'll tell you,
let's just not forget that alcohol is a drug as well.
1,000%.
It's ruining lives.
It's still the second leading cause of death in America.
Right.
Heart disease and alcohol, I believe. Google it.
No, heart disease is definitely, which cracks me up because stress is the number one leading cause to heart disease, and yet we are stressing the out of everybody right now.
Welcome to America.
Actually, you want to talk about the real pandemic? We'll get into that on another podcast, and you're definitely going to be here for that one too. Because as we were talking about this, and we spoke about gratitude today, and we were talking about like that spiritual awakening stuff that happens, and when you first get sober, and diving into that, and needing gratitude for it, and then as that happens, let's be honest about the world out there right now. Everybody that has no idea what gratitude is going to come try to kick you in the teeth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, cool. These aren't mine anyways. I'll just get another set. But like,
which we talked about earlier.
Like, cool. I'll just go buy another set. I'm cool with that. But what I mean is, like, you're gonna get attacked. So if you don't mind speaking about this, and we can edit this out if you do, but you recently got attacked.
Oh, you want to bring that out there?
I really do.
You want attacked, don't you?
Let's
No, I don't want to attack. If you're open to it,
walk the middle ground a little bit.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to just lightly sprinkle it.
like what I mean is like. Well, we were speaking about it before this. It's like we can just stick to the concept rather than like getting too far to one side or the other, right? It's you have a belief system. Let's just leave it at that if you don't mind, so that we don't go.
He don't even mind telling his belief system.
Yeah, like I know what I mean is like, and I love your belief system, and you can speak openly about it because I'm the same way. Like I'm Christian.
Even I want to say this too. Even if I hated your belief system, I still feel like you should talk about however you want to. You know, I mean,
that's what I mean. Like
his belief system and mine is different. And I still love and respect him.
Like you just tell the story. Let's just be honest about it. It's what we're here to do. And if you don't mind sharing, let's be a little bit honest about kind of what came to fruition and what triggered you to want to speak up.
Okay, we're gonna talk hard. This will never see air. It won't ever get aired. I went to my. I have a 9-year-old daughter.
Yep.
And we just recently transferred. We went from a small community in Columbus, Indiana, up to Indianapolis, Marion County. Whole different world, culture for my children. Yep. My children ride horses, fish. They're country kids.
Yep.
And I am by no means anti-city. I get called the city boy there. Mm-hmm. It was my idea to move to the city. We have a. It's Christmas time, right? So I thought. Christmas time, I'm going to a Christmas play for my 9-year-old daughter.
Well, let's talk about what is Christmas. What is it essentially? What is Christmas?
Christmas to me as a
Not
Christian,
to you. What is it?
It's a celebration, right? Like it's a
celebration
celebration of Jesus and So the three wise men came down and they presented gifts. Right. That's what I'm. Yeah.
Christmas has the word Christ in it.
Right.
I guess it depends on who you ask that question.
Right.
To.
And that's the whole point to this. Is like then people go on Google and they believe because they found something on the internet that's now the truth. Even though I can go on the internet right now, write a crazy ass piece, SEO the crap out of it, and then you guys are gonna think I know what I'm talking about.
Well, here's the thing too. Here's the thing too. If you disagree with Brian or myself or the other Brian,
I'll go by BG.
Either Brian's, and you disagree. I'm open to hear it down there because I'm not only open. I will respect you for your beliefs, and I'm not gonna hate you if you believe something.
That's perfect, and that's the ideal, but that's not the way the world works.
Reality of what's happening.
That's the way I am.
So anyway, I go to this Christmas program. When I get there, I realize that it's not a Christmas program; it's a holiday program, and that's still okay. I'm not incredibly irritated yet. Going through the play, they don't sing one of our. When I say our, please know I'm talking about Americans. I'm saying the way I grew up.
Historically, what has been celebrated during Christmas time has been certain carols, and we used to go sing these carols and spread the joy. When you used to be able to sing outside of someone's house without the threat of getting a gun pulled on you or egg. You know what I mean? Like, what we used to do was like the fun thing to do. We go sing Christmas carols.
Yes. Even ones.
I remember Christmas plays. They were amazing.
Yeah. Even one, they're like Jingle Bells. There are Christmas songs that aren't necessarily religious.
Yeah.
Didn't hear any of that.
Yep.
All the songs they sung, I didn't know what it was. The theme was tropical holiday.
Okay.
They're in beach attire, throwing a beach ball around the stage. They've got the little kids reading words off a sheet, and the way it was constructed, it was so politically correct and non-offensive that I didn't get no joy out of it, and I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, and I'm looking around at everybody, and then I'm like, well, am I wrong for feeling this way? You know, I saw a post. Well, no, let's take it a little bit further.
Okay.
The following week, on Tuesday, my 9-year-old daughter comes home from the same school, and she's got a piñata and little crafts that they made in school where they're studying all of the different world religions that celebrate during this season.
Okay.
So I'm getting a little bit offended.
Yep.
I'm scrolling Facebook. I see a post that talks about being tired of this happy holiday stuff because saying Merry Christmas might offend somebody, that the true meaning of Christmas is Christ, and they're trying to remove Christ from Christmas. I copied, I added a few emojis on it, put it on my fan page, and it exploded. It exploded in such a way that it has, to this date, it has 37,000 comments, and I'm not downplaying this when I tell you that I bet you there was less than 500 that were positive.
Yep.
And then they took it further and they went into my inbox on that page, which is what it is, sending me satanic pentagrams, calling me a racist, calling me a sexist, going on our family Christmas photos and saying your dad's a idiot. I had people that got my number off my page. It's there for people to reach out for help, attacking me, saying you're a recovery advocate and you don't know this and you don't know that, and just attacking my whole family. I'm still, like today, I got a hell or praise Allah and just everything you could think of. And it is what it is.
I just don't understand, like, and I could be wrong. I don't know. But
you can be. I've actually seen it happen at least a few times.
At least once or twice, right? But it's the day that we celebrate. And I'm not a Christian. I wouldn't call myself a Christian. I absolutely wouldn't. I have a higher power. I believe in a God, and I would not call myself a Christian. But that's the December 25th is the day that we celebrate and we pray, whatever, Christ.
Yep.
It's Christmas.
Right.
So, and that doesn't offend me, and it shouldn't offend me. I loved when I was a kid, we had Christmas plays, we sang Jingle Bells, we had plays that had God-related, Jesus-related stuff in it, and if that would be like me, I don't know, what's another religion's holiday? And saying,
there's Kwanzaa, I believe.
Okay, so me going on Kwanzaa
Day, and then there is Hanukkah.
Me going on Kwanzaa Day and saying this is not Christ, and this has nothing to do with my belief system. My belief system is Jesus Christ, and this is horribly offensive. Why would I do that? Why would anybody do that? That's their day. This is their day. This is their day, and this is their day.
It's been an attack for a while, right? Like, this was happening after I left high school. Like, I started noticing they'd taken out the Pledge of Allegiance because it said God in it. Like, and one nation under God, even though it still says it on our money, right? They haven't taken it off the money. Because now you're messing with something totally different, right?
I'm surprised.
You haven't taken it off the money yet because enough people still have that real belief, and the small amount of people that are stuck in this simple mindset is the way I see it. Like, you're just closed-minded. You can hate Christmas all you want. Like, cool. One less Christmas gift I got to buy, right? Like, I don't care.
And here's the thing. I have studied all the world religions. I think they're beautiful. I love culture. I
found funny when somebody said praise Allah, and isn't that the God of the Muslims?
Yes.
Like, it's not a bad thing. I'm like, cool, praise Allah. I agree.
All right, praise Allah and Buddha and everyone
They're trying to attack you with it, and I'm like...
Exactly. That's what it is. And there was nothing in that post that attacked anybody or attacked anybody else's beliefs. But this is my belief, and I'm holding on to it. And it was my page that I made that post on. I believe that America was founded on Christian principles, and that for that reason... everybody has the right to celebrate and be and free speech and all of that stuff. Every
Constitution.
That's what it was founded on.
Right.
And that's...
You have the right to believe what you want to believe.
Right. Like, that's how it was founded, and that's how we've been...
You have the right to celebrate.
20 years of being raised a certain way before it started to shift, right? So spend 20 years in a mindset, and then as you're watching it evolve, right, and you're not against the others, but now they're wanting to take away and not allow space for all. And yet we're supposed to be a diverse country, and yet you're not allowing space for one.
Yep.
Right.
And please don't let it get misconstrued that I have a problem with my daughter learning about all of these different religions.
100%.
I think that's great.
Right.
But they can't teach her about ours, and we can't say Merry Christmas. It has to be Happy Holidays, so not to offend anyone else.
Right.
It's almost like, as Christians, we don't have no culture anymore. We've got to be ashamed about it. And you have to know that I didn't make that post. I copied and pasted it, and I had no idea the amount of hate and rage. Like, people were going all the way back to our old live shows. They were stalking my page, going back and coming and attacking stuff that was 5 years ago. And I simply responded, man, I must have really rented space in your head to go back that far just to attack me.
Go back
Here's what I don't understand, and the reality of this is, like, if I say Merry Christmas to you and you don't believe in it, and you say Happy Holiday to me, I don't get mad at you for it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you based on my beliefs, and you're responding based on yours, and those two worlds should be able to exist, because me saying Merry Christmas is not me trying to offend you. I don't have a clue what you believe in. I don't even know your freaking name.
Yep.
Right? Like, I don't know what's going on in your world. This is my belief based on something positive, and you can just respond with yours, and then I'm like, okay, great, that's where they stand.
Well, and I think that's where this conversation needs to stand at, is like, doesn't, like, I am here, you guys are here. I'm just like you guys. I love different cultures. I love different religions. I have studied a few of them myself, and I think I don't even know if even Satanism has its good points to it. Now I'm gonna get crashed for this, right? Every religion that I have looked at has its great things in it, you know. So
absolutely,
why not be diverse in everything you do and learn and you take into your mind and then come up with your own.
Well, every time somebody said to me, you know, this whole like heaven and hell thing, and my response has always been the same, because I do believe in God. I believe that He literally runs my life, and I believe the path I'm on right now, and the whole belief behind my thought process is that that's my way of speaking to Him, and He speaks back, and He answers my prayers, because I pray every night, right? And I pray over others, and I've seen miracles, and so they say believing is seen, and I've seen it. Just because you haven't, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Like, that is your thing, but my response is always, I would rather personally, this is just me, because when I die, I'm the only one that's got to deal with this, that if heaven isn't real and I die, okay.
Yep.
If it is, though, and I chose the other side of the fence, believing that it wasn't, I don't like the consequences that come with that. So I'd rather die and be wrong on that side of the fence, personally, not to mention, I mean, you go into Old Testament, New Testament rules and all this other crap. I am the rule breaker of all times, right? Like, my mom couldn't tell me not to do something. I am Mr. Rule Breaker, but that is my discussion that I get to have with God, period.
Yep.
So if you don't like the way that I go through life and my religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs or whatever you want to put the word on them with, that is my problem.
Yep.
So let me deal with it.
Right,
I'm not telling you not to believe in heaven because, oh, well, you know you're going to go to hell and all these other things and da-da-da. I don't go down that path.
Yeah. And that's where...
Because that's not my problem.
That's the way... This is where this conversation goes. The way the world is today, and everybody's so ultra sensitive and super easy to be offended. They took that post and said that I was saying that I thought everybody needed to share my beliefs. No, I just don't think that I have to tailor our whole society around to not offend somebody.
Right.
Why does everything have to change? You don't understand these Christian values. Not saying Christianity, not saying that you have to confess your sins to Jesus. Yep. I'm saying the values and the principles are what gave us this freedom and this beautiful country, and the reason that you could that you could be offended, the freedom to be offended. It was, and now it's just a strange world, and I feel like we don't have any culture. I want my children to learn about Jesus because I'm a Christian. Yep. I don't mind them learning about other religions, but the fact that they can't even talk about Jesus, that bothers me.
Right.
The pick and choose, yeah. So we're on this path of people being so negative, it's insane. Like, again, and I'm gonna have you bring up your post because I had to go through 14 different pages, just 2. But anyways,
Brian Kendrick live, everyone.
Yeah, so
just Brian Kendrick nowadays.
I'm sorry, just Brian Kendrick.
We're not even live now.
But I know him as live.
Yeah,
because he's live. Why?
Because I am live in real life.
So you posted something last night talking about the 1900s, right?
Yes, sir.
And it speaks about if you were born in the 1900s, literally at 1900, when you were 14, World War I begins. It would end when you were 18, with 22 million people dead. Shortly after that, the Spanish flu kills 50 million people. You come out of that alive and free at 20. Then at 29, now that you survived the global economic crisis, the collapse of the New York Stock Exchange, causing some of the, at that moment especially, severest inflation that they'd all seen, unemployment and hunger. Then at 33, Nazis come to power. So now we're in 1939 or 1933. So then in 1939, World War II starts. And when you're 45, the Holocaust. 6 million Jews died. And if you're doing math in your head right now, we're well close to, what is that, 60 million people?
I don't do math.
No, that's about 86 million people.
I don't do math.
Sorry, that's over 100. Jeez, I'm even bad at math. As I'm going through this, it keeps getting worse. Okay, over 100 million people have died, and you're...
In your lifetime.
And you're now 50.
In your lifetime.
Yeah. Growing up in this time, right?
Growing up in
So basically, as you keep going, it just keeps getting worse. But today, we're complaining.
Yep.
We're complaining about this thing right here making you one of the smartest people on the planet. You have untapped information. If I had this in high school, I'd be in Harvard right now. You know what I mean? Like, you have literally access. YouTube is making more millionaires than ever seen. Money is in an abundance in reality. The ability to, back even in our earlier days, it was hard to get into Hollywood. Now you don't have to. Now you can just skip Hollywood. Now with the new evolution of this whole,
I seen a post the other day. It was a picture, 2-part picture. One was a millionaire in the 1980s.
Yep.
And it had a Wall Street broker on it.
That was like the only way.
And then it showed the other picture of a millionaire today, and it was some 20-year-old kid at his computer.
Hell, they're making 13-year-old millionaires that are playing video games and making these fun little things, and I love it. Like, I love that space exists, but it's like, what are you complaining about? Cars drive themselves. You have untapped information. You have untapped income potential. You have more real information than you have ever seen because science and all these people do not stop studying for you. They're not doing it for themselves. They're trying to share valuable information. Back then, they believed that once your brain was wired, you were screwed.
Yep.
Now we're starting to understand that you're not, and now we're starting to really fight this stuff. And
that's the
we
thing.
have untapped access to stuff.
It goes back to the victim mentality. It goes back to
what are you complaining about?
It goes back to the victim mentality and being offended and complaining and blaming other people for your problems and not because you look at other people and they're successful, so therefore you got to attack their success because you think that it's somehow going to benefit you, and it's just it's a world of the victim mentality.
I've been saying that to people lately. Sorry, I can't help myself. I've had some people around me that they get into like this complaining situation, and I'm like, hey, your victim is showing.
Well, what if the very tools that you're describing, what if this stuff that we're talking about, under the false pretense of connection and connecting the entire world, is actually doing the absolute opposite and
Oh,
keeping
here we
us
go.
in isolation and making us all miserable because we're not spending time together. We're not ever present. We have access to all this information. Maybe there was always people complaining. Everybody else just didn't know about it.
1,000%. But
all
with
the-
great power comes great
Ooh.
responsibility, and that's my point with that is like we now have that power, which comes with great responsibility. And the reality is, most people are unresponsible idiots.